Good morning. My name is Dr. Calvina Ellerbe. I'm a professor at UNCP in the Sociology and Criminal Justice Department. I am super excited to celebrate with you guys today at the Women's Empowerment Summit. We're going to have a good talk. I always like to draw your attention to the fact that being together is such a powerful moment. Connecting with others is very, very powerful. There are so many things that brought us to this moment. And so I invite you to honor the present moment with me. I'm grateful to communicate with you guys and connect today, and I think we're going to grow together. I'm pretty sure we will. So let's dive right in. I want to talk to you today about honoring womanhood. So let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can get started. There is so much about our experiences that sometimes we don't pay attention to, but it's deeper than the surface. One thing I want to ask you guys to just think about, have you ever met a surgeon when asked what he does for a living? His reply is, that's not all I do. That's not all I am. As a professor and listening to my colleagues, I never ask somebody, oh, what do you do? They say, oh, I'm a professor. And people retort, well, that's not all I am. But when it comes to nurturing, mothering, caring for others, people are quick to say, well, that's not all I am. Have you heard that before? I have, where people are like, I don't want to just be seen as a mother, as if mother in and of itself isn't as valuable. And we do this all the time. We, in a lot of ways, when it comes to doing the things that only women can do, there's this somewhat negative connotation about it. I like to encourage women and people in general to get back to the basics. There's so much about what we already have that if we go out of our way to not honor it, it will cause us to not have the outcomes we really want. Some time ago, I did a talk and it was, a women's event. And I came into the room and without saying anything else, I said my name and then I said, hey, who in this room wants to be a woman? There were men and women in the room. You would think, all the women at least would raise their hand, and no one did. And I've done this exercise multiple times, and no one raises their hand. Being a woman is in because of many reasons, right? And we'll talk about some of those. A lot of times people see women as being a woman is somewhat of a weak state and not a positive thing. And so nobody's really signing up for womanhood. Like, nope, I don't want to give birth. I don't want to breastfeed. I don't want any of it. Like, and a lot of us have that position. This is why people want to be seen as more than a mother, more than a nurturer, because unfortunately our concept of womanhood is that really it's not enough. It's not good enough. It's not valuable enough. I personally don't know anything more powerful than bringing forth a life and more miraculous than that. But in our culture, we don't see that to be that special, right? It's not that important. Like I said, we wouldn't say these same things about a surgeon. We wouldn't hear a surgeon saying, well, that's not all I am, because we see that as valuable in and of itself. That surgeon may very well be a mother or a father or raising children or even have a business on the side, but they don't see the need to bring those things up because being a surgeon in and of itself is valuable. I want to posit the idea today that being a woman is enough. It's enough. I mean, we've all seen it that if you ask somebody, if they choose to be a domestic engineer and be present at home with their children, so often we hear people say, is that all you do? And again, I personally don't know anything more difficult than being at home raising children, to make sure you develop and raise another human being to be a worthy individual and investing your focus in that. I don't know anything more difficult than that. But because we got this concept that nurturing, mothering And the things that only women can do are just not enough. They're not valuable enough. I absolutely believe that it interferes with our ability to feel whole. So my goal today is to get us to focus on wholeness and finding the first thing that we need to do is love us, right? Can I love who I was created to be? Love does not come from the outside. Love comes from the inside out. And so when we can start with a basic concept and a view of loving our womanhood, we can actually lean into self-love in a way that will honor anything else we want to accomplish. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit of my story. My story is a little, unfortunately, I hate to say my story is common among women. Very, very, very common. My story is this: from my very first cycle, it was the most painful experience I have ever had to this day. And I've lost a brother. I lost my brother at 13 years old. He passed away. He was only 20 and he passed away. And I hate to say this, but coming into my womanhood was the worst experience I've ever had. It was painful beyond reason. I mean, there were times when I would shake, just shake with pain. Throw up 8 times in 1 hour. I've even fainted from the pain. And it was just like every bone in my body was aching. And this was from my very first cycle. Like my first taste of womanhood was tragic, to say the least. It was just painful. I mean, and the interesting thing is that when my mom would take me to the doctor and say, hey, something's going on here, the message we received, the wording specifically, was just that some women have it like this. This is just womanhood. It's just bad. And let me just offer you some medications. And they gave me more and more medications, but for some reason it only dulled the pain, never took it away. And then, well, why don't we just put her on birth control? But nobody ever thought to say, maybe being a woman isn't just bad. They just leaned into this view is that this is what being a woman is. It's just terrible for some women. It's just terrible. And so this is my first moving into womanhood experience. That is just painful and it's bad. And I feel terrible. And then on top of that, as you get older, I became one of those people that never wanted to have children. Never. I remember sitting in so many of us, I'm sure, have these stories. I remember sitting in the back of the church with some other young girls. You know, we 8, 9, we don't know what we're talking about, but we, of course, we think we do. And I heard all the terrible stories just like everybody else. And one of the other girls was telling me the story like, oh, did you know that in order to give birth for the baby to come out, the woman's bones break, right? Painting the worst picture ever. And it sounded terrible. And of course, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to allow my bones to break. And of course, she didn't know what she was talking about. But when it comes to birth, we have so many of these very scary, terrible, worst pain I ever felt stories. And I became afraid of having children and afraid of childbirth. And also afraid of my body. It was betraying me. It was broken. Like, what is this? And I got in my head, just like so many women do, that being a woman is a broken state. It is a broken state. All of this led me to the idea, right, at the time, the belief that womanhood equals suffering. So of course, nobody's going to raise their hand and was like, oh, who want to sign up for suffering? No, I don't. I'm good. I'm okay. And that's why I believe this is unfortunately so many women's experience with their bodies and experience with what people say about their bodies. Because before I ever had a single child, when I was just talking to people about birth, it was always negative. I don't remember anybody smiling when they talked about childbirth. Fast forward to what my life has become. I eventually, thankfully, my mom never put me on birth control. She allowed me she kept pushing for solutions. She didn't give up on my body. I want to encourage more women to think this way. Don't give up on your body. There's millennia of information from nature that gives us things to do to honor our bodies. But my mom never gave up on me. And eventually at 21 years old, I learned about my body. I learned to lean into my body instead of reject her. And what ended up happening is it was the foods I was eating. So I changed my diet. I changed what I was eating, and I never had a painful cycle again. I'm 37 today, 16 years pain-free, because I leaned into my womanhood instead of rejecting it. If I would have gotten on birth control, which is what a lot of doctors tell a lot of women to do, I would increase my risk of blood clots, and there's also some linkage with depression and mood disorders because you're interfering with that natural cycle. It's not about saying birth control is bad, but realizing that whatever was wrong with me was not going to be solved by birth control. And so it's important that I encourage more women to say, hey, how about you lean into and learn about your body instead of just try to avoid it at all costs? And too often that's what we do. We just try to avoid it at all costs. And leaning into my body, I actually learned that, wow, my body actually works extremely well and it isn't looking to hurt me. And I now can enjoy, I mean, I used to have cycles where the bleeding was so extensive that, I mean, I was just going through pads. And then I couldn't predict it. It was extremely irregular. Once I learned to lean into my body and not reject my body and just try to do and get rid of it, my cycles are extremely predictable. I don't have pain at all. And I didn't take anything. I didn't take any medication. I just learned how my body worked and leaned into the cycle instead of rejected it. And ate things that actually honored my body instead of made me uncomfortable. And so now I have pain-free cycles, extremely predictable cycles. And I've been able to give birth naturally 5 times at home, drug-free. Because again, I leaned into my body instead of rejected it. Childbirth was not by far the worst pain I've ever felt. Still to this day. It just doesn't bother me, and I would happily do it again. But this was because I learned to honor my womanhood. And not enough women get to experience this positive experience. Our ability to truly see beauty in ourselves is limited when we cannot love how we were created. Womanhood has benefits that when we lean into it, it actually rewards us. Life becomes much easier. Trust me, I've done it both ways. And it becomes much easier when I'm not stressed out about my health and my body and it's not acting up and I'm not having infections and odors and things are going on with it. It's wonderful that it's a carefree thing when I'm actually leaning into it. And so the question you might be asking is, Dr. Ellerbe, everybody, why do we have to, why don't we just, get on birth control and not worry about it, Because if you don't know what's going on with your body and you're having an artificial cycle, our cycles are actually the heartbeat of our bodies. It tells you about your health. If it's painful, that's information. That's how you lean into your womanhood to say, my body's communicating with me. What is it saying? Too often we say, let's get rid of it. And that actually hurts us worse in the long run instead of actually making us better. And so we want to actually say, hey, this is our bodies. Let's understand it instead of reject it. Learning how to communicate with my body and honor the communication my body was offering me was the absolute best thing I've ever did in my life. So you might want to know, well, why does any of this matter? So much of what we fight for as women is linked to our lack of love, interest, respect for womanhood. Let's take the gender pay gap. This is one of the big ones, right? A lot of people say, oh, every time when I teach my sociology classes, I teach family, I say, hey, what are the things that women need to fight for? This is at the very top of the list. Women say the gender pay gap. First thing I hear. So let's look at that gender pay gap and see how honoring our womanhood can actually be the source of what may be the problem. It's a different perspective, but I want to introduce this idea, help you guys really think about this. So the gender pay gap, this number comes from all fully employed men and compared to all fully employed women. When you compare that number, you're going to see about 83% on the dollar for women. Women are going to make about 83 cents to the dollar that men make. On the surface, that's like, wow, that's a problem, right? The issue is it doesn't take into account job choice. These numbers disappear, largely disappear when you compare same job, same experience for women, same job, same experience for men. So when men and women are in the same profession during the same job, generally you don't see a gender pay gap. That's what the data actually shows. Where this gap is happening is when you start to look at what types of jobs men do and what types of jobs women do. Men tend to do dangerous jobs, jobs that require more physical strength, because as we know, on average, men are stronger than women, and jobs that require long hours. Men tend to be concentrated in those types of jobs. And as a society, this is the issue. We honor strength. We value strength. We value disconnection, working for 1,000 hours and not really having time for yourself. We honor that. We pay those jobs better. We value the types of jobs that are dangerous. We give those things money. So yes, men are going to be being paid a little bit more because they're doing the types of things that we honor. Where you're almost always going to find less women being willing to, being able to pick up the same amount that all, men are going to be able to pick up. Or being willing to have jobs that are somewhat emotionless. On the other hand, women tend to do nurturing jobs. If you look at majors, women are highly concentrated in humanities and communication majors. Women are going to be concentrated, over 90% of women are nurses are women, teachers. There's so many professions that are giving professions, nurturing professions, where we see women, but we don't pay them the same. So some people's solution to this is women can do, non-caring, they can lift the same, but why wouldn't we also want to honor nurturing? Why wouldn't we want to, as a society, say, yeah, I think it is good that the people who carry babies, that we encourage and support them in being nurturers? Why would we want to tell them to be less nurturing? I think we want to think about the implications of encouraging women, the carriers of life, to be less nurturing. They want to think about that a little longer. So instead of just telling women they don't have to take nurturing positions or they don't have to be in those jobs and they should just go and work long hours just like men, why aren't we encouraging and supporting and paying well nurturing professions? We need to pay well nurturing professions. If not, we will always disadvantage women. So if we actually care about the gender pay gap, we have to learn how to honor the things that women tend to disproportionately do, disproportionately have, disproportionately bring to the table. Similarly, we don't honor women very well by having terrible maternity leave policies. We are one of only 3 developed countries in the whole world that don't have paid leave as a federal law. What that does, again, that hurts us when we don't honor womanhood, because we almost value women that say, I had a baby on Friday and was back at work on Monday. We're like, ooh, you're amazing. Why isn't it amazing to actually take the time to heal? I think we want to lean into the womanhood that, yes, giving birth is part of our journey. Over 85% of women are going to go through this. So this is disproportionately going to affect women. And if we don't fight for maternity leave, we are going to hurt our families. Men are hurt by this too, but we're going to disproportionately disadvantage women. So yes, honoring womanhood affects us outside of just our own bodies. It affects us in our careers because, again, we don't have good maternity leave policies. A lot of women are going to drop out. A lot of women are going to come back before they're ready. If you want to predict postpartum depression, show me a country with terrible maternity leave policies. Show me a country that don't value nurturing. So a lot of women, if you listen to us, they say things like, I want to get back to myself when they give birth, because they're encouraged to not see part of themselves as nurturing, as sacrificing to love on others. That's not good enough. You need to not be taking care of anybody else. That's yourself. Also, we have terrible maternal and infant mortality rates. That's about not honoring motherhood. We medicalize birth. It is a medical procedure instead of something where we honor women's bodies and allow them to take the lead. America specifically is overrepresented in OBGYNs in birth. Most developed countries lean on midwives and people who see birth as more natural instead of a medical problem that needs to be solved. And what the outcome of that is, among developed nations, we are number one in maternal mortality. We're losing more women around birth and pregnancy than any other developed nation. So yeah, this hurts us in big ways when we don't honor motherhood, when we don't take the time and say, hey, birth is beautiful. Let's learn how to make sure women are having positive outcomes. Not just anything can happen and it's dangerous and that's kind of how we think about and process birth in this country. I can only speak about what I know. I've had 5 children drug-free at home. So I can tell you with a straight face how beautiful and that birth can be, how it cannot be traumatic, how it cannot be painful and scary. Because I've been able to live it because I leaned into my womanhood. Also, breastfeeding. We don't talk enough about the benefits to the woman. If you want to reduce every reproductive cancer, breastfeed long term. The research is very, very clear. You can reduce your risk of breast cancer, significantly reduce your risk of ovarian cancers and cervical cancers the longer you breastfeed. With every 12 months of breastfeeding. But again, with terrible maternity leave policies, we are making the lives of women miserable with this because we're not leaning in to make sure they are having the lives that would actually benefit them. Again, over 80% of women are going to give birth. So when we don't have good policies and when we are making birth dangerous to them, we're hurting women. We have to lean into honoring womanhood so that we can have better outcomes for ourselves. This is one statistic that really blows my mind, and I think we don't talk about it enough. So what does the research say? Unfortunately, modern women are less happy than their predecessors who had much less than we do. We're less happy. We're more overwhelmed. We're more depressed. We're more anxious. And some of the things on the other slide absolutely help us understand why that is happening. Right? If I give birth, I'm made to feel like that's not even valuable. I remember being pregnant with my first child and how many people wanted me to not be happy about it. The negativity that was brought to me instead of, wow, this is amazing. I'm excited for you. We definitely do a bunch of, oh, congratulations. We say that. But then we go straight to, ooh, what you gonna do? And negativity towards birth and mothering. The second that baby comes out, a lot of developed nations have home visits after a baby is born. We don't. We drop that mother off and we're done with her. Figure it out. We don't support women. You think that might have an effect on our peace, how we feel? Because as a society, we're pretty much saying we don't honor it. We don't honor nurturing. We don't honor it. We don't value it. So it's hard for me as a woman, for us as women, to also value it. Like I said, that's why so many women are like in a rush to get away. Okay, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm ready to get back to something else that isn't the natural cycle that a woman body works on. Our body, by definition, is change. But we keep trying to get to a stable state where there's not as much change. That's manhood. I mean, that's women, men have some types of cycle, but it's nothing like ours. So when we're trying to get back to a state where we're not dealing with change, we're trying to get away from womanhood. So the science is very clear. There are some things about being a woman that we exclusively bring that is so beautiful. Obviously, there's always exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, women are more, based on the brain science, women are more aware of emotion than men. Women have more mirror neurons. We can empathize and connect with people, and we experience more pro-social emotions like gratefulness, and all of those things are extremely good for our mental health. We feel better when we are connected. So modern women, we're more isolated than we've ever been. We feel more pressure to produce and do things and look like we are not in need more than ever. When we do that, you only hurt women. Men absolutely are going to be hurt as well because we're in this together. But we're going to bear the brunt of that when we can't lean in to get to togetherness. Well, we can be just as emotionless as men. Okay. Scientifically, our brains don't do that as well. We are social creatures. There's also something by Arlie Hawkshaw that talks about the second shift. She says that women tend to, now that we're in the workforce just as much as men, or similarly, not just as much as men, more than we've ever been, we tend to come home and still do the emotional work. We still do more housework. We still do more of the caring for the family. So instead of actually giving ourselves more freedom and opportunity, we just added more work to ourselves. And so some researcher, Stevenson, study done by Yale, argues that maybe the complexity and increased pressure in modernity has cost us our happiness. It's cost us this kind of peace because now we just feel more pressure to be doing more. We're not actually doing less womanly things. We're still nurturing. We're still the nurturers. We're still going to pay more attention to other people's needs and emotions. It's just at the cost of our happiness. Now we're getting no peace. So there's a lot of things to think about. Happiness has started to skew male. Men are like, well, we're doing better. We actually have to do less caring for other people. That doesn't hurt us as much as it hurts women, because women have more of those mirror neurons. All of us have probably had the experience of, how didn't you recognize I was crying in talking to a male? How didn't you notice my emotions? We've all had that experience. It's because we're different. This last point is very powerful, and it's a harder one for me to talk about because it is really sad. The so-called sexual revolution where we freed women, it only really benefited men. Because now men don't actually have to be mindful of how they approach us. They actually are less, because the assumption is that you want it, right? Because the argument is we can do it just as much as you can. We can be just as not careful, which I find that interesting. This idea of the double standard, instead of saying, no, you need to be more chaste, we said, well, we don't have to be careful with our bodies either. That didn't help us. That did not bring benefit to our lives. What, unfortunately, and I teach this a lot in my family class, the research suggests that more people are having more unwanted sex than ever before. Because now the assumption is I'm supposed to be doing it just as much as he is. I'm supposed to want it just like he is. So a lot of people, especially the first time, are just trying to get it over with. I didn't even really want to, but now I'm trying to fit some standard that I'm just as sexual as he is. So how did we get to the point where we're supposed to be free that we feel more bondage. Now I got to go ahead and do it. I've even had women say, in order to keep a man, I have to go ahead and share my body even when I don't want to. So instead of revolutionizing and freeing women, we feel more pressure to do a lot more things that we don't even want to do because we're supposed to, right? Like I'm supposed to want it just as much as he can. So there's a lot here that we can lean into, and hopefully you guys ask some questions about it. But looking forward to hearing your questions. But I always like to tell people, like, how do you know, Dr. Ellerbe, right? Are you telling women they just only should be at home and giving birth and, breastfeeding for 3 years? Like, is that what you're saying? That's not what I said. I'm saying that I know that the foundation of becoming all that we can be starts with loving our womanhood, honoring it, not rejecting it. I only know because I'm just doing a few things, right? I'm a college professor, wife. I'm a mother of 5. I had them all at home, all naturally. I homeschool my kids. I own a business called Ellerbe Essentials. I like to help people get back to the basics. I'm a birth educator, a parenting coach, a motivational speaker. I have been breastfeeding for 10 and a half years straight. I go out of my way to eat healthy, I stay fit, and I get enough sleep. So I only know because I'm living it. I only know that the best way to lean into being all that we can be as women, to be empowered, is actually understanding that being a woman is enough. My greatest gift as a professor is my ability to notice emotion and what the needs of my students quicker. That's good about me. I don't need to try to show them that I don't feel anything. I want to show them, hey, I'm a female professor. Womanhood shouldn't be left out of it. It should be because of it. I am able to do all those things because of my womanhood. I designed my life around my womanhood, and therefore I look for a job that would allow me to have paid maternity leave. I didn't just jump in my career and then, find out later that now I got to rush back and not be able to breastfeed and not be able to connect with my children and not be able to do all those things. I kept it at the forefront so that I didn't have to feel overwhelmed. When I give birth, I never feel depression. I never feel overwhelmed because I'm allowed to just lean in and be vulnerable and allow my body to heal and honor my body. So I design my life around my womanhood. That is what I want leave you guys with the thought that being a woman is enough. Thank you for allowing me to share with you guys today my ideas. And I hope you have questions. I hope you have things that you're curious about. Like, well, Dr. Ellerbe, how does this work? Ask me questions. And I'm looking forward to talking to you guys more. But being a woman is enough.